Did Kamala Harris call Joe Biden the next vice president? Is she plotting Oregon? Does she know something we don't know?
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Kevin Samuels destroys modern woman with this.
Men, are you dealing with issues like this?
Almost 50.
Almost 50 years old.
I am.
All right. Are you married?
Yes.
So where's your husband?
He's out.
I don't believe you.
You don't think so?
No. When'd you get married?
You said what?
When'd you get married?
2017. I've been married 3 times.
So why are you here then if you're married 3 times?
To be honest, I'm just here because a lot of females that I do speak with, they're like totally against the fact that you say that they can't get a man of money. It's not too many straight men with money anymore anyway. So they're not even looking for women. A lot of them are not.
They're not looking for hoes.
Your incarceration rate is down. The education rate is up. We up. We went from a group of men who were brought to this country in the hulls of slave ships. I know we got the pretendians out there that's saying that we still here, but the DNA test says otherwise, just like your baby mama. So, for my brothers who know their history and know where we came from, and know what we've been through for hundreds of years, the fact that over 60% of black men have now reached the middle class as a... Your seed is the most important thing that you produce in this world. It's not the art that you produce. It's not the buildings that you create. It's not the amount of money you make. It's not the amount of people who like you. It is your legacy.
But since we don't live in our culture no more, we say what we want to say, do what we want to say. We tear our men down and then wonder why they don't make good husbands and fathers. Mothers destroy sons. His mother can speak to him in certain ways that destroy him in ways that can never be repaired.
Salute the black men.
Started with mama issues, afraid to question anything, that was that bitch in you. Grown-ass men, we letting this shit continue. Adolescent feminine ways, why men offend you. Mama boy, she love thugs, her secret lover. That's why she keep these niggas inside the covers. Put the nigga aside, homie, I'm your brother. Close father saving us, having the same mother. Iron sharpens iron, we learning from one another. No jealousy or envy, going through life struggles. You told your mama you was outside, wanted to hang. Now you wearing colors and just joined the gang. No money, so the OGs taught you how to slang. Jackets rolled up and all you heard was bang. On the side of the curb, leaking out your brains. Quiet women sing, single mama lost again. Black men, we gotta change. Salute the black men. We number 1 if you talking about top 10. I salute the black men. Child support kids don't belong to him. I salute the black men. She lied on you and sent you to the pen. I salute the black men. Dealing with the pressure and oppressor getting lesser cause we deserve the best of. Coming home from work and life issues, I just want a meal, end up with fights with you. You just need to chill, remember I'm right with you. So fucking masculine swinging and I ain't hit you. What's your fucking issue? You don't love me, you love what I can get you. Don't let the kids you love be in the bitch you. 911 police saying I hit you. I got video footage, you lying bitch you. Why you think we locked up options with you? Making love to the enemy out to get you. That big ass and a smile might convince you. Graveyards that's filled, we on the menu. Penitentiaries packed, men continue to be the simps and she provided the venue. No respect, so black men we've been through. Nigga,
Black
I feel
fathers
you.
are more likely to help their children with their homework, prepare meals, bathe and dress their children compared to fathers of other races. So the absent or deadbeat black father myth that many in America believe is really more like a lie.
The black men, we number 1 if you talking about top 10. I salute the black men. Child support kids don't belong to him. I salute the black men. She lied on you and sent you to the pen. I salute the black men. Dealing with the pressure and oppressor, getting lesser, cause we deserve the best. So salute the black men. We number one and you talking about top 10. I salute the black men. Child support kids don't belong to him. I salute the black men. She lied on you and sent you to the pen. I salute the black men. Dealing with the pressure and oppressor, getting lesser, cause we deserve the best of.
Salute the black man.
I salute.
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 Salute the black man.
Men,
I salute.
the men I want to salute.
Fuck your back.
I like that.
Salute the black man.
Stop wasting money
Hit
on
that like
icons.
button.
This innovative stick
And
makes
share
it
this
easy to
stream.
back up your smartphone.
If you're
It's
not
compatible with all devices like Android and iOS, and you can free up storage in seconds without ever paying for
It's a
cloud
hard
storage
thing
again.
to
This
admit, but
ex-smartphone engineer
it's
just created the
understandable
ultimate
why they would choose to go their own way, and that's what's scary. Is there's actually a rational reason why they would do that.
Men going their own way. And you can think what you want about it, but this is a really big problem for women, for us, for our future, for families, for you to find a partner. If a population of good men are walking away because they're fed up with women,
If you're being told all your life that you are bad and wrong just for being a man, and that you have toxic masculinity for being a man, and that, you know, women, there's this famous expression that, you know, a woman needs a man just like a fish needs a bicycle. And that men are basically useless. And that men are terrible, and that, you know, women are superior.
Our society is very callous towards men. The only message most men hear in the world is that they're a bumbling buffoon. The TV shows are full of idiot men. Commercials show men as buffoons. The society is against them. All they hear about is what idiots men are.
it's the mass of women that are taking over the culture and representing women. They're loud. They're mean. They say they want equality. Why are they not protesting in the streets for the changing the laws for alimony or child support or child custody? Because they don't want equality. They want superiority.
The male gender has more of a slave state, and it's because men are now subjugated to the law and to women, and nobody really believes it except the men who go through, say, the court. But most men think that they're exempt from that until they end up in a bad situation.
So for a lot of the men, and a lot of them have gotten screwed over in terrible relationships and divorces, and gotten their kids taken away from them. So it's an understandable response.
In the United States of America, as a man, you can't speak up. I think most women tend to be very, I'm stereotyping, but they tend to be more collectivist. They tend to sort of be more in that socialist mindset. So I don't know that you're going to see a huge change. I think the change will have to come from men.
The lives of women will not change until the men get the opportunity to also examine and define and change their lives. In many ways, I sometimes think that the 20th century was the century where the women made all these massive changes, and the 21st century will be the changes that the men will make, partly in adaptation to the changes that the women have done.
And those men are doing something about it. They're saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not getting married, or I'm divorced. I'm not going to They don't sit around just trying to live their life through women. They actually have lots of hobbies. They go out, they buy that land you were talking about. They're out there getting motorcycles. They're having a good time and they're enjoying life without having to deal with the stress of the women and the society that tells them they have to have a woman in their life.
How would you feel? I mean, you know, you're not going to feel that attracted to a woman or care to be loving towards her or romantic towards her. So this men going their own way is a reaction to that. I really think it's a rational reaction to that. Men are finally like, hey, we've given you all you want. You know, you are equal in every way, and then you're still shaming us.
Is before you. Choose wisely.
All right, guys. Don't know if you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, hit 1. Testing, testing, testing. If you can hear me, guys, hit 1. We're about to start the show in a minute, but this is a good show. It's going to be a good show. And I decided to do this show, guys, for a myriad of reasons. Because often, many times, one will assert or assume that men created men's spaces for a myriad of reasons. But the manosphere was created because of modern women and modernism. It was created because of modern women and modern women. And in the clinical, guys, I often say the needs drive behaviors. Needs drive behaviors many times. And when a man is not getting his needs met on a consistent basis, then they create counter movements. America's in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. America is in trouble. We have a senile president. We have a generation of women that are not used to respecting traditionalism or masculinity. We have a generation of men that are not used to seeing masculinity. And we have a world where delusion is at an all-time high. And the problem with this is for a myriad of reasons. The more you try to change the cognitive dissonance of people, the more they double down. I'll never forget the 2000 election, what I tried to convey to many of my friends. And I might hear necessary to exonerate Donald J. Trump. I don't trust politicians at all. And I saw Donald Trump at the convention. I saw him. But the liberties that we once had as Americans is slowly faltering. America is at a crossroad. Because, see, I'm Gen X, and I remember when normal was normal and when people could see through BS. But after 4 years of political malarkey, after 4 years of political malfeasance, and while I don't care for either party, Democrat or Republican, I must admit that Trump's policies are more beneficial for me, or more beneficial to me. And if you're a traditional man, it's going to be more beneficial to you. And so we need a conversation because America is at a crossroad. An incompetent president, the senile, that has neurocognitive issues. A woman that's vowing for his position, perhaps, in theory. The feminist movement that destroyed the fabric of America. And then also Kevin Samuels, one of the many men that spoke out on gender issues, being minimized and truncated, to say the least, to the point that now men don't believe in dating, marriage, and relationships. And the reason why I say, guys, I'm more apolitical is this. Some conservatives don't understand why men are checking out. And most men are not checking out because they don't want to be married. Many men want to be married. But when you minimize the struggles due to unjust laws, when you minimize the struggles due to child support, paternity fraud, and the lack of care when it comes to mental wellness, then it becomes a problem. And we can't have a better union unless we understand the struggles of men. Being a professional in the mental health field, many times men's needs are minimized. And many times men suffer in a silo. They suffer in a silo where their needs are not being addressed. And once again, guys, a broken man is a hopeless man. And a hopeless man is dangerous. We just celebrated Independence Day on yesterday. And while American black people have never been given the credence of white Americans, we've never been given the credence respectfully of the contributions that we gave to this country. There's something that's brewing in the atmosphere. There's a zeitgeist, and that zeitgeist is called the Age of Aquarius. And the Age of Aquarius, guys, will destroy the fabric of America. And that Age of Aquarius is predicated in moral relativism that says that your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. That's the zeitgeist or moral relativism. Moral relativism does not see truth for what it is, but moral relativism supersedes truth to more or less placate feelings. And once again, a lot of it is a projection of ignorance. And I talked about it earlier during the week. It's a projection of ignorance. And some of it is a projection of pain. And also some of it is a projection of trauma, guys, a projection of ignorance, a projection of pain, and a projection of trauma. And they project their brokenness to other good black women and other good black men that are trying to restore balance to this current world that we live in. But see, cognitive dissonance is when you have a cacophony going on inside your head, and people try to tell you the truth, and you don't want to hear it. And so a projection of pain and a projection of truth or projection against truth becomes problematic, guys, here in modern America. And the greatest indictment to modern men is something called taxation without representation. I talked about it in the past. And taxation was what the Brits were doing to American patriots. American patriots got tired of being taxed to death. They got tired of being disrespected. They got tired of paying to the crown and not being represented correctly. And what's happened, or more or less metastasized in America, is that American men are tired of taxation without representation. Shout out to Sister Bashur and everyone that's in, Brother Variance and Irvine Reed. But they are tired of taxation, guys, without representation. So once again, America is in trouble. She's in trouble because there's been a projection based on ignorance. There's a projection based on indoctrination. And the projection based on ignorance is the presumption and the assumption that all men, through the felonious concept of overgeneralization, that all men are bad. And that's a problem, guys. It's a problem when you project and assume that all men are bad. I'm going to assert once again that the majority of men that listen to the Culture Clinician, they're good men. There are good men that are looking for equitable women because, see, a good woman is necessary for the mental wellness of a man. But there's a saying, guys, that says that when evil men reign, the people suffer. And there's another slogan that says, when men fail to lead, the children rebel and the women take over.
When men fail to lead, the children rebel and the women take over.
Shout out to my man, brother M. Watley for that $10 cash app, as he's the #1 sponsor of the stream. Thank you to brother M. Watley. And you're the #1 sponsor of this stream, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you to brother M. Watley for being the #1 sponsor of the stream. So, guys, there's a lot of projection going on. There's a lot of projection going on today, guys. There's a lot of projection going on. And there's a lot of ignorance. And that projection is destroying the fabric of America. It's destroying America, sadly, guys. And until we have a conversation, and we work to understand what men want, until we have a conversation, hold on. We're going to keep having these problems. Hold on for a minute. Y'all ain't going to believe this, man. Hold on. Y'all ain't going to believe this. Hold on. But Sleepy Joe, guys, is at it again. He's a broken man, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But in the meantime, we're going to get deep into it, guys.
The next vice president.
Now, we know that there are some that are pushing for Kamala Harris to be president. There are oligarchs behind the scene that many think are pushing for Kamala Harris, guys, to be the president. America's already on its last leg. She's on an oxygen machine, and the powers that be want to destroy America. They want to destroy America, many will assert. But Sleepy Joe, guys, is at it again, and I want to show you guys something. Sleepy Joe, guys, is at it again. Hold on.
Trying Ashmiri is like,
and it's not funny, guys, but we're in trouble, guys. We are in trouble.
Fits right out of the box
as
now
Americans,
and they look all right. So who knows? I might become one.
We stand together.
And people in power are licking their chops. We are in trouble. Biden. Biden, guys, refers to himself as a black woman and stumbles through barbecue speech. Oh my goodness, man. Guys, we're in trouble. We are in serious trouble. Oh my goodness, man. We are in serious trouble. We're in serious trouble. Shout out to my dear friend, Sister Bashur. She's so sweet, always showing love. Shout out to my good friend, Sister Bashur. Number love and respect for that dear sister. She said, I was saying on Crimson Curse show live earlier. Hold tight. Let me click on Sister Bashur's. But she said, I was saying on Crimson's Cure Live earlier that I would love to use my auntie status to train these young girls and women to be quality while sadly they might not listen. But listen, don't stop. Don't stop. Because there are some that will listen to you, Sister Bashur. How would they hear unless a good sister like you be sent? There are some that will listen to you. there are some that will listen. So I pray that you don't stop and you stay on the wall and keep being a clarion caller, because some women are looking. There are some that will try to sabotage what you're trying to do. But I will install you to continue to be a clarion caller, Sister Bashur. You asked the question. She said that, Coach, what are your thoughts on Project 2025? I'm not aware of it, but I'm gonna research it. And once I figure it out, I'll let you know. I never heard of Project 25. I heard of Project 3030, but I'm not familiar, sis. I'm not familiar, dear friend, with Project 3025. But let me show you guys how America is in trouble. The powers that be are laughing at America, and they're licking their chops. There are women like Crimson that are trying to add clarity to the conversation. There are good sisters like Bashur that are trying to add clarity to the conversation. There are women like Sherazal Ali, and there are other Christian women. And while philosophically they might not agree on all areas, they do agree that there's a crisis in America. And so we got a president that has neurocognitive issues. He appears to have some early dementia, maybe. But this man is not competent and fit to be president. And the powers that be are waiting to destroy America. And you don't believe me, guys, watch this. Hold tight.
As Americans, I believe we will and we can. And by the way, you know, I was in that World War I cemetery. Now
listen to this, guys. Joe Biden is a wind away from being dead, and I pray that he gets his soul right with God. But Joe Biden is a wicked man, and he's a wind away from being dead. A good March wind, a good winter wind will blow him away. He'll be dead. But people still want to support this man. But then one could also argue, guys, that they want him to step down so they can give the keys to Kamala Harris to further destroy America.
France, and the one that one of our colleagues, the former president, didn't want to go and be up there. I probably shouldn't even say it. Anyway, we got to just remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America. Yeah.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president.
He said, I'm proud to be the first vice president. And maybe Joe Biden knows something we don't know, guys. Maybe Biden knows something that we don't know.
Is she plotting Oregon? Does she know something we don't know?
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States.
Now here Kamala Harris says, that Joe Biden is the first vice president of the United States of America. Now watch what Sleepy Joe said. Hold on. He said the same thing. Hold on, let's go back and let you guys hear it. Maybe they know that they're trying to prompt Kamala to be president of the United States. And I'm going to tell you something. Men go through mental health crises where unjust politicians are in operation. Men go through crises when unjust politicians are in operation.
The first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president.
He said he's the first vice president and he's the first black woman.
I'm proud of the first black woman in the Supreme Court. There's just so much that we can do because together there's nothing. Look, this is the United States of America.
What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
Now, listen to this bumbling idiot, guys. And I stand on what I say. I never have respect for Joe Biden for what he did to black men and how he destroyed black families. I would never support this jackass for what he did to black men and black families. That's enough for him not to get my vote. I was a registered Democrat, but I'm an independent. I'm not necessarily a fan of Republicans or Democrats per se. Definitely not Democrat, but I do like the policies associated with business owners like myself trying to keep their money, but also trying to galvanize and give money back to black families and black communities and trying to start tradition.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
And look at them bumbling Joe Biden, guys. Look at them bumbling and fumbling. Bumbling and fumbling. I'm going to look into Project 25 in a minute, Sister Bashir, but bumbling and fumbling Joe Biden. And this is y'all's president.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
And guys, this is what we have to deal with as American citizens. We have to deal with this malarkey. Now, once again, this woman, guys, was complicit in the destruction of black men. She was complicit in destroying the fabric of black families. But see, in America, you can show them the evidence, guys, and they'll just minimize it. They'll minimize it. They will minimize it or try to reduce it and not take ownership for their part in the situation. They will minimize it or try to reduce it and not take ownership until the situation. And once again, guys, we can talk and talk and talk and talk and assert and assume, and nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And that's a problem. It's a problem. And you know, you would think, guys, after inflation, you would think after so many major things that people would come to their senses, but sadly, they won't. Sadly, they won't. So I want you guys to hear this bumbling president, this bumbling, goofy president. And we're going to go live, guys, and we're going to break down this bumbling, goofy president. And then we're going to get back to the stream about some more important topics. But I want to show you guys what this bumbling, goofy president is talking about and why America is in trouble. Because America is in trouble, guys. We're in a lot of trouble. And some will say, I'm going to vote for Biden anyway, and that's your choice. That's who you want to vote for. Vote for who you want to vote for. But you can't complain about policies. You can't complain about them. And then you can't complain about policy. And then at the same time, complain about the outcomes. And so let's look at this silly president and his shenanigans and why so many people love being slaves and love being blind. But hold tight. This is a live press conference with George Stephanopoulos.
Jeopardy Masters will be seen after this from ABC News.
From ABC News, a special edition of This Week. President Joe Biden, his first television interview since the debate. The news-making exclusive. Now reporting from Madison, Wisconsin, George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening from Madison, Wisconsin for a special edition of This Week.
So this is an interview with George Stephanopoulos, guys. And we're going to see how coherent
The first broadcast
and competent
interview of President Biden since last week's debate.
Sleepy Joe
Earlier
is.
this afternoon, we taped the 22-minute interview. There are no cuts, no edits. We have not touched him. At this pivotal moment in the presidential campaign, here it is. Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night, but your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It's a bad episode.
Now watch this man lying saying this is a bad episode. We know it's not a bad episode. This man is incompetent and he's incoherent. But of course, Joe Biden don't care about Americans or American policies because he's a politician. We got millions of immigrants coming into this country taking away opportunities for Americans, especially those of African descent that built this country. Women's lives are being at risk. People are losing jobs. People's safety and health is at risk. But yet they still let this incompetent man come in and try to besmirch people. When you have incompetent leadership, it can lead to a mental health crisis.
No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them if they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test.
And Sleepy Joe, guys, is still lying. We know he's lying, guys. Sleepy Joe is still lying. Because if that was the case, if you were tired then, are you tired every time you stumble and bumble? If that's the case, then are you tired every time you stumble and bumble, Sleepy Joe?
To see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. I just had a really bad cold.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look. The whole way I prepared, nobody's fault mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran.
He's talking about he lied 28 times, but he's lying now. Once again, I don't care for either party. I am apolitical. I don't care for either party. But I cannot be part of a man that pushes ideologies that are extremely liberal and pushes policies that are a detriment to black tradition and black people in general. I can't support that, and I will not support that. And I'll tell anybody that I will not support things that are antithetical to the sustainability of traditional black men and traditional black women. I will not be part of that.
My fault. No one else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you do.
I've had plenty. I guess the question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is, you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including till 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today, large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden.
Anybody that's a nurse or anybody that's in charge of seeing people with neurocognitive decline can see something severely wrong with Joe Biden. Number one, he's too old. Him and Trump both are old, but he's older than Trump. At least Trump is more stable and coherent. This man is a March win away from being blown over. With 2025, I see what you said, but sure. I don't know. I got mixed views on it. I don't know. I had to go do more research on it. But the question is, regardless of whether you believe in 2025 or whatever, this country is in trouble. And the liberties of our ancestors, the liberties of our children, the liberties of everyone is at stake. And we know that the current politics, or the current political framework with Sleepy Joe and many of his cronies are not beneficial. As I said once again, many times conservatives don't really understand our plight as much. But we got to look at it from the context, even during Jim Crow racism, not saying that was justified. Our ancestors were able to work through or come together and galvanize, and our families were stronger. I'm not saying Jim Crow racism was right, because it was wrong. But in the lieu of all of that, our ancestors were still able to work together and come together as one, and we were a lot more productive. I would say the liberal policies now have destroyed the framework of many traditional black men and black women and the family in general. We're trying to go back to America, but go back to the old way as black people especially, and we work together and hopefully have some kind of regime where we can keep our money and we can keep our families intact, hopefully.
And over the last few months or so, said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden?
And also what he done, he ran up inflation.
Announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one thought I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I want to do 3 things. Restore some decency to the office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics built from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, a bad run. But, George, I'm optimistic about this country. I don't think we're a country of losers, that he points out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term.
But how can we be on the cusp, guys, of breaking through something when we're in so much trouble as a nation? You got people, you got vets, and you got people homeless on the streets. Some people can't even afford to pay their rent or more or less buy grocery. The elderly are struggling. And we keep pushing these negative liberal agendas that are destroying America. Once again, I don't care for either party. But I do believe in cogent policies that can impact traditional families and traditional women and men, especially black men and women, coming together as one.
I'm going to make sure we got to straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, where we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. The one thing I'm proudest of is, remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. Well, guess what? They now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, would significantly increase inflation. I made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No, but I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you spoke.
Keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me. He said, "You're exhausted." I said, "Look, I have medical doctors travel me everywhere. Every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, you know, I mean, I've been to Walter Reed for my physicals. I mean, yes. The answer.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No, no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
That's cognitive dissonance, guys. Joe Biden right now is experiencing extreme cognitive dissonance. The old scarecrow don't want to face reality. And so he's lying to himself. Sleepy Joe is experiencing extreme cognitive dissonance. Extreme cognitive dissonance.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into the detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to, in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be?
He's still in denial about who he is and what he's struggling with. Sleepy Joe is in denial about who he is and what he is struggling with. And guys, because of that, can you imagine a frail president dealing with the likes of Putin and other major leaders that are in world power? They're licking their chops, guys, for the destruction of America. And I will say that unless something radically changed, America is over. She's on her last leg, in my opinion.
Be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the answer,
decision.
The right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right now.
I've already done it.
You talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know, elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought it could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget.
And guys, that's what politics do. Politics is called political gaslighting. They will gaslight you to make you think you are crazy about what you've experienced. From the CV-19 to rampant inflation, to liberal policies being pushed down the throats of heteronormative men, we see it metastasizing over and over and over and over and over again. There's a nefarious agenda behind the scene. And something we could be on the brink of a civil war. I don't know. But I would say get ready to be locked and loaded because it can be scary. I'm not necessarily scared to the point I am. But masculine men always rise to the challenge. But this man is a politician. All of them are politicians. Trump is a politician. But I will say that minus the Republican Party, his policies, in my opinion, are more better for American blacks, especially when it comes down to us keeping money and making sure inflation is down.
And for example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, I mean, I just, anyway, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is all that takes a toll. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
I believe so. I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look, I'm running again because
And Sleepy Joe is lying. Listen, Joe Biden needs some milk. He could barely stand up. He's failed a couple of times. Somebody say he defecated on himself. This man is old, and we don't need him in charge leading this country moving forward. We need strong, masculine leadership and control.
I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, you know, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president is going to determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself when you say you have the mental and physical capacity to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because George, last night.
And no, he's not being honest with himself, but also more sinister. Could they be trying to promote this so that Kamala Harris can be president? Could they be trying to promote this so that Kamala Harris can be the next president and we can further destroy America? There are oligarchs behind the scene since the inception of the Americas that seek to destroy this country. And it's been going on behind the scene from secret societies on up to now. I know a lot of people don't believe it, but it's real. And you're going to see for yourself, but hold tight.
The thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I go down in history as a pretty successful president. No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now, by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, do you know polling better than anybody? Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular.
And here's the crazy thing about it. The reason why, whether you Trump is not a Republican, he's really a rhino. Many in the Republican Party don't even like Trump. He's a businessman first. He's America first. I don't trust no politician. But what he's saying sounds more plausible than what Joe Biden is saying. As I said before earlier, I cannot endorse a president that was complicit in the destruction of black men, but not only that, push policies that are antithetical to traditional families, more or less traditional black families. I cannot support that, and I will not support that because I know that goes against the teachings of our ancestors.
Vote probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win. Remember 2020, the red wave was coming. Before the vote, I said, that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better in an off year than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw is about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, sure I had months, but I was also...
But he's a liar. Do you think Joe Biden would say what he said against black men and calling black men super predators? Do you think Joe Biden would say he was wrong and that was racist? Of course he's not going to say it. Because, listen, the powers that be, let's say Trump is a clown. But the powers that be know that Trump is trying to push an agenda that's more consistent with traditionalism and strong masculinity. You don't have to like Trump per se, but you can't argue that when Trump was in office, his policies were better. You had more money in your pocket and America was safer. You got to rule out everything they're saying because Democrats and Republicans both got issues. But when they come down to a more perfect union and giving you the power to be more successful, I would say the policies of Trump, not the the Republican Party, are more advantageous.
Also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world, like keeping NATO together, like working, anyway. But look,
do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind, CBS poll and NBC.
Yeah, God, that's cognitive dissonance.
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything having to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral
By
college.
7 million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong?
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is...
But let's say Trump is a pathological liar, Joe Biden. You don't have a brain, so what's your point? You don't have a brain, Joe Biden. You're old. You both are old, but he's not as old as you. He's a lot more coherent than you. You keep talking about he's a pathological liar, but you can barely stand up without stumbling and falling and bumbling over your words. I don't want this man to be the leader of our country because the powers that be will destroy him. That's a lot of pressure on somebody that old. He's already old. Being a president will age you fast. This man gonna be a prune if he stay in office. He's already a damn raisin in the sun. He's gonna be a prune or even a dry raisin if he continue to try to vouch for being the president.
Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else and not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, when over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provision we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices for drugs. This is a guy who wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that. I understand that's why you want to stay in the race. But if you convince yourself that only you can defeat him?
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
It depends on...
You can get things done, but yet you keep letting thousands and thousands of illegal immigrants come to this country because what you're trying to do, you're trying to flood this country and destroy it from the inside so that you can get be in office permanently. Sister Bashur and Brother Watley, I'm going to read a Project 2025. I'll look at it from all angles. And shout out to the Pookie and Ray Ray show. Thank you, brother, for responding as well. But let's say a Project 2025 is sinister. Let's say it's sinister, and it appears to be sinister on paper. Is it any more sinister than allowing illegals to come to this country or migrants to come to this country undocumented to take the place of the hard work that your ancestors and my ancestors put into hand? Both agendas, if Project 25 is true, are equally nefarious. One is to subvert and destroy the country from within, putting women at risk and putting children at risk, putting families at risk, and putting the fabric of black communities that are already on life support at risk. There are some studies that have stated that at some point, black people will be at a 0% net worth. So one is more insidious on one end by allowing undocumented immigrants or illegal immigrants to come into this country. But let's say Project 25 is trying to usurp authority or usurp government. One is more passive aggressive, one is more aggressive. So both are equally nefarious, in my opinion.
And if the Lord Almighty comes down and tells me that, I might do that.
Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect it.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'll get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
Well, I met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time with them than Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours, off and on, the last little bit, with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question. It's not going to happen.
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people you draw crowds like I drew today? You find me more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
He can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who's he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this. We have over 1 million individual contributors. Less than $200. I've not seen what you're proposing.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
You know, I've heard from dozens of your supporters over the last few days, and a variety of views, I grant you that. But the prevailing sentiment is this. They love you, and they will be forever grateful to you for defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of successes you outlined. But they are worried about you and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to them?
I say the vast majority are not where those folks are. I don't doubt there's some folks there. Have you ever seen a group at time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that? I've not. Same thing happened in 2020. Biden, I don't know, man, what's he going to do? He may bring me down, he may.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point, where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6, 7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have.
Shout out to Top Gun for that $5 super sticker. He said that his politics have allowed Trade the Aranga, Venezuela's most ruthless organization, to come freely to wreak havoc. We've barely seen what's ahead. Yeah, that's powerful, Top Gun. And that's why I was saying, I don't know enough about Project 25, but I am going to look into it. But, you know, Sister Bashir say they're trying to allow Christian nationalism. I don't know. I got to research it, but many times anything associated with Christianity, they'll say they're the Christian right or they're fascist. I don't know. I got to do the research before I make a conclusion on it. But I will say, as I said earlier, it's more destructive to allow illegals to come to this country undocumented and take jobs of black people. The whole impetus about the Christian nationalism, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it's definitely something to look into and something to research. But either way, with Biden in office, we're in trouble, guys. This man is incompetent. And You know, and like the Scarecrow said, if I only had a brain, because he don't even have a brain. You don't have to like Trump, because politics is funny, and I know people are funny about politics. But ask yourself the question, did your wallet suffer under Trump, or did you do well financially under Trump? I'm still learning everything about these politicians, because there are certain policies I don't know, and I need to do my research on as well, but hold tight.
Have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen. See what they say.
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
ABC News also offered a one-on-one interview to Donald Trump after the debate. He declined. Let's bring in our political team for what they're hearing. Let me start out with our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. And John, you watched the interview. You've been talking to people all across Washington. What are you hearing?
Well, George, look, Biden looked better and certainly more coherent than he looked during the debate. But there was nothing in this interview that is calming nerves of jittery Democrats who fear that Joe Biden is on a trajectory to lose this race, to lose to Donald Trump. In fact, for some of those people, the interview is raising new concerns, particularly the fact that he is unwilling or unaware of the fact that he is in a dire situation here regarding the campaign, that he is losing in the view of many Democrats. And frankly, in the polls, you cited that he is losing to Donald Trump. And there was one question that you asked where his answer is particularly, I believe, alarming to some of those Democrats. You asked him how he will feel in January if he has lost to Donald Trump and all that he has warned would happen came to pass. And this was his answer. He said, I'll feel, as long as I gave it my all and did the best job I know I can do, that that's what this is about. One prominent ally of the president simply responded to me, wow, when I asked about that question. So the bottom line here, there was nothing in this interview that will force Joe Biden out of the race. There was no, major thing that will convince him or any of his allies. I believe they have to go. But there's also nothing in this interview that will calm the nerves of Democrats who are saying it is time for him to get out.
Martha Raddatz, the president is talking to a lot of people, but he appears to be listening to a very tight circle.
A very tight circle, and administration officials I have spoken to said that very tight inner circle is telling them he can win, that he needs to keep going. This, of course, includes his wife, Jill, who they said is lashing out at those who want him to get out of the race. This was a Joe Biden pumped up on his inner circle, telling him that again and again. They think he will have many opportunities, but those not in the inner circle say this will also expose him to a great deal of risk. And George,
they probably gave Joe Biden some morphine, guys. Probably gave Joe Biden some morphine or some kind of saline solution to pump him up because he's so incoherent. They probably gave him some morphine or some kind of solution to pump him up, guys, because he's so incoherent. This man is not competent to be president. And Sister Bashir, you got some good, valid points. My only issue with affirmative action is affirmative action never benefited black people as much as it benefited white women. Affirmative action never benefited black men, especially because black men are supposed to be the providers of the families and the communities. But affirmative action did benefit white women. And while the policy itself in theory was a good policy, if it's not going to be productive to putting black men in jobs and putting black men in power so they can protect their women and provide for their women, then I don't see the benefit of it. I'm not against affirmative action in theory if it's used correctly, because we know that there's still racism, some forms of a systemic racism that still exists. But when it comes down to, once again, black men, based on my knowledge, affirmative action benefited white women. And many times liberals give jobs and power to black women. I'll give you guys an example. When I taught school, after I taught school, I got an advanced degree from the elite school. But when it came down to getting a job, they saw my credentials, but they never gave it to me. I applied to be a 504 coordinator, but they never gave me the job. Even though I was competent, my family didn't get the benefit from. But guess what they gave the jobs to? They gave it to black women and white women. They gave it to white women first and then black women, and black men came in last because aggressive feminist policies are inherently democratic. And I'm going to prove my point a little later in the show. You guys will see what I'm talking about. And it's going to make sense. And I'm glad you guys are posing these questions. Thank you, Bashir, and all the brothers that are listening. We got to think critically. We got to think critically, and then we got to look at all angles and then make the best decision possible. Because sometimes the decisions are hard to make because we only have two parties. It's bipartisanism.
I've talked to a few people too and texting with a few people as well on the Hill. They say it was better than they expected, wasn't as bad as they expected, but that's a pretty low bar, George.
And Mary, Bruce, what are you hearing from the White House?
George, the White House tonight reacting in one word, strong. Look, you heard the president there, and his team strongly do believe that this is all being overblown, that Joe Biden has been underestimated and written off before, only to come back strong and win. They believe if he can continue to do interviews like this, if he can continue to get out in front of the American people, that this too shall pass. But the president there truly didn't seem to grasp the severity of this moment, the magnitude of that growing chorus of concern from Democrats. He dismissed that, dismissed the trends that we are seeing in the polls. But what we are hearing from Democrats isn't concerned about one bad night. They are concerned that Joe Biden doesn't have what it takes not only to continue governing, but that he has what it takes to win. But the president is adamant that he is still the best one to take on Donald Trump. And you heard there, he clearly doesn't want to entertain the possibility that Democrats may come to him and urge him to step aside, saying only the Lord Almighty could convince him of that, George.
And that is the key question right now. So I want to go to our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott. The most important audience probably right now for the president and the White House are those Democratic leaders on Capitol Hill.
Well, Richard, what's your name? Richard, hold on, Richard, I don't know how to say your name. Richard Tomarsky, whatever your name. Yeah, well, really, that's a myth, Richard. That's a myth. Actually, there are studies that have been proven that black men in general do take care of their kids. They say that black men, and I'll show you the video in a minute, but black men unanimously do take care of their kids. There's a percentage of weak men that don't take care of their kids, but by and large, they said that black men overall take care of their kids more than any other ethnic group. I'll show you the clip in a minute, but that's the line stereotype that we continue to hear, that black men don't take care of their kids. And that's a lie. There's a percentage of black men that don't, that are the Pookies, the Ray Rays, the Man-Mans of the world. But by and large, black men take care of their kids and do a darn good job. Guys, do me a favor if you have not donated. Shout out to Sister Bashir. She's the #1 sponsor. But donate to the channel, guys, and share this stream. We're going to get deeper into the conversation. We're going to get deeper into the conversation in a minute. But black men do take care of their kids. Actually, I'll show you guys that in a minute, but hold tight.
And there has been some ferment in the last couple of hours.
Exactly, George. And they were watching tonight, I can tell you that. In fact, just minutes before your interview aired, you had
The Hendrick 4th of July flash sale is on now. Drive with 0 down. Payment deferral up.
All right, let me show you guys something. Hold tight. And we want to disprove this myth that black men don't take care of their kids, because that's the assumption. So let me show you guys. Guys, donate to the channel and share the stream. Hold tight. All right, let me show you guys
conducted by the Center for Disease.
Because this is what we've been hearing, is a false narrative. And so let's make sure we are honest and we're not spreading false propaganda, because that's what many would want you to think, but it's not true. But hold tight.
Disease control, the myth that black men are absent fathers was dispelled. When news outlets report on black fatherhood, it's often depicted as a crisis, further reinforcing the idea that black men are not there to raise their children.
And guys, that's what the media does. The media has been doing this for years. Aggressive liberal policies have been doing this. They've been doing it for years, trying to assert and assume that black men are not taking care of their kids. Is there a percentage of black men that cause chaos? Yes, but by and large, the larger conglomerate take care of their kids. But that's what the media will tell you. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, at one point where she was pushing this false propaganda. The media pushes false propaganda, and they don't tell the whole truth. They want you to think that, but it's not true.
But the data that the CDC gathered paints quite a different picture. In the study, built upon years of research, the results indicated that black dads are actually more involved with their kids on a daily basis than other racial groups.
Now, this is when they said that black fathers are more involved with their kids than other racial groups. That's including white fathers, Asian fathers, or whatever. Now, of course, some won't believe that because they take the dialects of the black community and equivocate that to all black people. But imagine if we looked at the dialects of the white community, the trailer trash, the ones that live in the hills, and we try to associate them with the hardworking blue-collar white people or the working-class white people or the white-collar white people, then that would be a problem. But when it comes down to black America, we always equivocate the worst of the worst with black people, and I got a problem with that. So we got to be fair and balanced, guys.
From changing diapers to playing with their children to helping with homework, black fathers were statistically more hands-on than white and Latino fathers. Tara Culp-Bressler of Think Progress noted that equal numbers of black dads and white dads tend to agree that it's important to be a father who provides emotional support, discipline, and moral guidance. There's one area of divergence in the way the two groups approach their parental responsibilities. Black dads are even more likely to think it's important to financially provide for their children. The study also compared dads that were living with their kids and those who were not. And
I don't see you as attacking me, Rich. I'm Robert. I don't have a problem with your honesty. I don't have a problem with that. You said color has absolutely nothing to do with it. Have men take care of children they make because the statistics say they are not. But once again, that's only a small percentage of dialects. By and large, based on the research from the CDC, black men take care of their kids. I had to tell another white friend of mine that he assumed that black men don't. I said, no, sir, you're wrong. I take care of my kids. I don't have no baby mamas. I'm highly educated. And the men in my circle, I know take care of their kids. But once again, the media pushes false propaganda. They always have pushed false propaganda. Robert said, Polish name, I'm not attacking you, but I grew up and worked for years in these communities. Yeah, I respect your opinion, but respectfully, our anecdotal experiences don't more or less equivocate the masses. Our anecdotal experiences do not equivocate the masses. Does it happen or has it happened? I'm sure that there are some dialect black men that don't take care of their families. But those ghettos or urban centers are not more or less a reflection of broader black America and black men like myself, because I take care of my kids. But sadly, there are percentages that don't, sadly, and it's unfortunate. But I don't equivocate white people to the trailer trash white people or the ones that live in the hills. I don't equivocate white people to that. But sadly, many times we tend to equivocate all black people to ghetto hood culture. And that's why so many black people are frustrated and upset with BET and ratchet culture that's making hardworking black people look bad and traditional women look bad, sadly.
and black fathers were still significantly more present. So for those arguing that the turmoil occurring in places such as Ferguson, Baltimore, and black communities across America is a result of absent, ineffectual fathers, I'm talking to you, Rand Paul. Maybe it's time people stop pointing all the blame at underprivileged parents who are just doing their best to raise their children and take an honest inventory of what's really holding these communities back.
All right, we're going to get deeper into the conversation, guys. Hold on. All right, we'll get deep into it. And these conversations are important. Shout out to The Quiet Storm. He said to Richard, Dorosky can show me my majority of black men who do not have children, then maybe his assessment will be more accurate. The International Quiet Storm said that until, he said, I'm tired of black men, non-black men, and coming indeed spreading these nonsense and false and take the trash somewhere else. Tired. He said in concert with black women and black male femme, he said many women will disagree with you. I'm assuming this is a far left source. I don't know if it's a far left source or not, but we know it's a false narrative. Listen, as I said earlier, guys, I'm neither Republican and I'm definitely not Democratic, but what I see many times with some conservatives is that they love to pontificate the negative nature of black people when it benefits them. But then when you have a contrarian viewpoint, then they're silent. I'm apolitical. I do believe in Trump's policies. I think his policies are better for America. But I don't care for the Republican Party, and I sure as hell don't care for the Democratic Party. But there are some that continue to push the false narrative that black men don't take care of their families. Is there a percentage of black men that don't take care of their families? Yes. Is it equivocal to all black men? No. You know, it's been proven that I know a lot of black men and they don't have children. And so in many communities, white and black, white women tend to get with white men that on the higher echelon, and the average white guy is left without the love and the care of a woman. No different than the black community. I'll give you guys an example. I knew a black man one time. He had 9 kids by 9 different women. That's a problem. But we cannot assert and assume that this man is the same or more or less attest to all black men. Just like Richard, he's had his experience. I've had my experiences. I'm a licensed therapist. And from my experiences, I don't see what you're seeing. Are there urban areas and urban centers where it happens? Yes. But it's like there are also the Appalachians where you got poor white people that some whites would call poor white trash, or you got you got the hill toppers and other areas of the world that hardworking blue collar or urban white people that they don't associate with. So it's in both cultures, sadly. Top Gun said, Richard, go eat a kibasa and stay out of Biden. Shout out to Top Gun for that $5 super chat, man. Shout out to Top Gun. The Richard Dwork, he said, these statistics from the CDC. Richard said, oh, really? I'm assuming you grew up in an all-white neighborhood having a name like Top Gun. Listen, guys, we can agree to disagree. We got to have these conversations, but there are biases and stereotypes that we all push, and that's a false presumption and assumption. There are statistics from Republican groups that minimize the brilliance of people of African descent, but then there are also statistics that tend to aggrandize and try to affirm that black people are deficit from the liberal left as well. Both have their own issues. But like I said, traditionally, black people have always been conservative. And a lot of black men are going back to being conservative because they don't like what's going on. But there is a fringe lunatic on both sides. There are nationalists that align themselves with Trump. And, they're in white nationalist groups. And I don't associate with that nonsense. But Trump don't have nothing to do with that. Trump, it's Trump. Trump is always associated with black people, especially in entertainment. So, it's a conversation that we can have, but we got to be civil when we have these conversations. Shout out to the International Quiet Storm for that $10 super chat. He said 71% of black men have a relationship with their children or in communication with their children during this week. Pew Research and CDC. The article was written by 2 black women. Again, what the fuck is he talking about? Shout out to shout out to Quiet Storm for that $10 super chat. The Poogie Railway Show said, aside being an agent of chaos and a feminist, why are you in a black male-centered space? Yeah, guys, I don't have a problem with other colors having a conversation as long as they're fair and balanced. But we don't damn tolerate false propaganda either. I don't mind Richard having the opportunity to talk unless he's being fair and balanced. But we don't push propaganda politics as well. Yeah, and Richard said, I agree. Some do, and they are the best fathers. So Quiet Storm said, so I asked him his anecdotal experience from the far. I asked him, is his anecdotal experience far left, far right, or center? This is the CDC and Pew Research. Far left, far right, and center view. Why? Right, not some do, majority do. There's a big difference. Respect. Man, y'all going in, man. We know these liberals like Richard are Yeah, and listen, listen, guys. I understand what y'all talking about. I've seen it. I got white guys I'm cool with. I got a white neighbor. You know, him and I are cool. We do business together. But he tried that BS and tried to say that black folk men don't take care of their kids. And I said that's BS because what you're doing there, you're assaulting me. We know we talk about the Raekwons and the mans and the Day-Days and them. We talk about those men, but those men don't represent the men that I know. Anecdotal experiences in urban centers don't more or less represent in my opinion, the broader mass. And one could argue that I'm giving my anecdotal experiences as well. But then we got to rely on the power of research to qualify or disqualify what's actually going on. But I'm going to get back into it, guys, because once again, as I said before earlier, white liberals love making black people victims, and white conservatives many times say pull yourself up by the bootstrap, but they don't understand how systemic racism do work. I'm not saying that racism is stopping people from being successful, but there are still barriers that exist in America. We've never had equal opportunity. There was opportunity, but it's never been equal opportunity. It's never been equal opportunity. And I'm a witness to it. I got an elite education from a very elite school. But trust and believe, I caught hell getting that elite education. I got stereotyped many times. And many times I almost didn't graduate, but at the same time, I was afforded to go. There were programs in place that played a role, but I didn't get to grad school because of my color per se. I got to grad school because of my merit. I had to earn it. I had to work hard to get it. But we're going to get deeper back into the conversation, guys, and thank you to everyone that's donated. And we need conversations like this, guys. You know, as long as they civil, I don't have a problem with Richard giving his perspective. Don't have a problem at all. But I'm going to get back into this, guys, to show y'all what I'm talking about with, they call it commandment. Hold on. Now, remember, Kamala Harris, guys, was complicit in destroying remember, Kamala Harris was complicit in destroying the image of black men. And Richard, once again, brother, what we see going on, once again, sadly, is that what you're doing, you are equivocating a percentage of black men towards the masses. There's a percentage of black men, the bad boys and the thugs, that are progeniting with these women. Once again, I've experienced it as a therapist and when I worked in law enforcement. But by and large, average black men are invisible. So we can't spread false narratives that black men are not taking care of their kids. That's a false narrative. Are there hypersexual men that are bad boys and thugs that are impregnating these women? Yes, because that's what a lot of black women, sadly, in the black community gravitate to. Not all black women, but sadly a large portion. And so Top Gun don't have kids. The Quiet Storm don't have kids. I know a lot of men that don't have kids. The research proves that, no different than the research from the CDC. But we can't use research when it's beneficial to our argument. Let the research speak for what it is and be neutral in the conversation and not be a victim of confirmation bias.
Hello, hey, Tracy with the good heels on.
Now, guys, this wicked woman was complicit in the destruction of many black people. She was complicit in locking up. And Richard, let's be real, Kamala Harris played a role because with the sentencing acts, let's say if these black men were in the lives of their kids, with the 3 strikes law, it gave black men more harsher sentencing than it gave white men. So white men weren't sent to prison for small infractions, but black men were. So we can't say on one end to try to push or paint a false narrative that black men are not in the lives of their kids with their damn liberal policies in place like this 3 strikes, you're out rule that was pushed by Harris and this goofy jackass Biden. We can't say that black men not in the homes of families when we know that systemically white racists came into many of these black communities to try to destroy them, and then the government was not fair and equitable to black families. We can't say that redlining was never fair and equitable to black families. So we got to look at all the facts, because once again, the issue I have many times with conservative whites is that they always look at things through black people pulling themselves up by the bootstrap. But when American black soldiers fought for this country and died for this country, they were never given equal access and equal opportunity like their white predecessors. When it come down to black farmers that built this country, they were never given equal access and opportunity like their white predecessors. They were pulling themselves up by the bootstraps, but they never gave them equal access and equal opportunity under the law. These black farmers were trying to to keep the farms regulated. They were trying to take care of their families. But once again, white conservatives, sometimes, not all, I'm not going to say all white conservatives, but they always talk about the bootstrap theory, and white liberals always talk about victimization. And I would say both are wrong. That's why we do need a third party. Because white conservatives, many times, they minimize the impact of systemic racism, but then white liberals, they tend to aggrandize victimization. Both are equally wrong, sadly, in my opinion.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it.
And then this is a white conservative woman that's proving our point. This is a white conservative woman that's proving, guys, our point. This is a white conservative woman that's proving our point. Yeah, I'm going to cover that, Bashir. Top Gun said that all people from Poland belonging to these... Bashir said this wrench was on BET Awards talking about they not like us. Yeah, right. And a lot of black people are getting frustrated, Bashir, about this nonsense, like this jackass, Kamala Harris, and her shenanigans are pushing an agenda trying to undermine black people. I've said it before, guys, and I'll say it again. At one point, black women were the greatest women ever, in my opinion. This troll is really Snuggles 6'8". Peep that sucker, disingenuous, ingenious words and ideology. Shout out to Top Gun for that 5. Yeah, I wonder about Snuggles sometimes. Snuggles come out with some racist comments at times.
You're dying. Oh my God.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Richard, but once again, I'm not giving tons of men credit. The data and statistics don't lie. We can't make our own experience anecdotal to black men. I'm not going to set up and denigrate black men. I refuse to do that. Is there a partition of black men that are doing what you're saying? Yes. But the CDC and peer review research doesn't lie. I went to UNC Chapel Hill, a research one institution, and the research don't lie. When you do research, you got to be unbiased in your pronouncements. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not going to set up here and castigate and say based on what we see in the inner cities that that's a representation of all black men. That's not a representation of all black men, because the average black man, the blue-collar black man, and sometimes white-collar black men are not venerated in the black community versus the bad boy with swag and the thug. That's a fact. The men on these panels are educated men that made good choices. They don't represent the masses. They don't represent the masses.
It when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought.
Now listen what this woman is saying. This woman is a conservative woman. And what she's saying is true. What she's saying, guys, is true. What she's saying is true. That's what Kamala Harris did.
To keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way. Line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives.
Now think about women like Kamala Harris, guys, that systematically destroyed the lives of many black families. Imagine if there was fair sentencing acts with black men, white men, and all men. But black men, since the inception of this country, have been targeted and minimized. Once again, where's the outrage for black farmers that, quote unquote, pull themselves up by the bootstraps and work hard? Where's the outrage for men that have names like Daquan, but he's an educated man, or names like peon. But he's educated, but he goes and gets a man with a name like Brett. That's systemic racism. Both went to school and studied hard and went to school, but they didn't get equal access and equal opportunity under the law. So, you know, once again, liberals are complicit in victimization, and many times conservatives, not all conservatives, but many times conservatives are complicit in their own biases as well. When you do research and when you attack something, you have to more or less not use what's called confirmation bias. And the pool based on your community is not applicable based on research to black men. I know plenty of black brothers that more or less affirm the CDC.
You did not, and worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that, and the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
And she do them an apology, but guess what? She's not going to give them an apology. Commandment's not going to give them an apology. And neither would this goofy president and Joe Biden that push policies that call black men super predators. And I'm sick of that false rhetoric of more or less assuming that black men are dangerous and black men are predators. Let's be real, guys. Who's the real predator? It shows hell on black men, because the real predators were white men that came to America that not only stole from Indians and enslaved blacks and also pillaged their own women, or black women and Native American women. Black men have never been historically predators. But if you look at through the lens of divide or war and conquer, it's always been a portion of white men. So let's be real about that. But for some reason, black people, they have never been historically guilty in the last 500 years of raping or enslaving people, but somehow black men are super predators. This is what this stupid jackass President Joe Biden said, but I promise his ancestors were predatory to many black men and black women. That's the hypocrisy of not only white liberals, but sometimes white conservatives.
Why, if I had a brain, I'd continue to.
And it's obvious this guy is slow. It's obvious this guy brain is fried. It's obvious he's too old to run for president. And if Joe Biden is given 4 more years in America, guys, we're in serious trouble. We are in serious trouble as Americans if Joe Biden is given 4 more years. You can say what you want to say about Trump, but when Trump was in office, we didn't have issues with gas. We didn't have issues with taxes and none of that. All politicians are corrupt and crooked. All of them are corrupt and crooked. But when I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote my wallet. I'm going to vote my wallet. I'm not going to vote anything else. I will vote my wallet, guys, to say the least. Shout out to my man Mujahid for that $3 Mujahid for that $3 cash app. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, brother, for the love. Thank you, sir.
Move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country.
Are Democrats in trouble? Did Joe Biden fumble the bag for the Democratic Party?
And not only is Joe Biden in trouble, Americans are in trouble. We're in trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. America's in trouble, guys. Now, listen, guys. If y'all want me to read out your comments, you got to donate to the channel, like Bashir, Top Gun, and many others. I don't mind reading comments, but I'm not going to keep stopping the stream to read comments. If you want me to read comments, you got to donate. Thank you. And actually, guys, in the meantime, go hit the like button. Get these likes up. We got 33 people in the house. The likes are down. Go hit the like button, guys. Get the like button up, and go feed the algorithm. Go feed the algorithm, guys, and go hit the like button. Thank you.
Hit that like button. Go ahead. Do it now before I reach out into that screen and twist your hand like Aunt Esther. Hit the like button. Thank you.
Destroy. Should he concede?
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all. But I just want to speak from my heart. I love that guy. That's a good man. He loves his country. He's doing the best that he can. But he had a test to meet tonight to restore confidence.
And so Joe Biden, guys, got something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance precludes a person from hearing the truth. Joe Biden has a severe case, guys, of cognitive dissonance because when you present the evidence to him, he cannot hear it.
Cognitive dissonance is a condition that happens for a myriad of reasons. Many times in modern America, men and women often do one of the following. They deny the evidence. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue to ad hominem attacks, meaning they attack the messenger instead of the message. And they will fight you or flee because they cannot hear what you are saying. And conditions such as this, tied into cognitive dissonance, often happens to those that have or lack self-awareness. They stay in a perpetual cycle of arrested development, exhibited by this.
Is dealing with cognitive dissonance
of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that.
Just one night, there was just one debate. Nah. What if Trump says I don't need to debate again? And all we have to hold on to is what we witnessed last night. A brain fart within 3 minutes. Mumbling often enough where Donald Trump ended up saying, I don't understand what he said with that last sentence. I don't think he understands what he said.
And Joe Biden, guys, is a joke to the American public. He's a joke. He's a joke of a president. And once again, I would never forgive him for what he did, him and Kamala Harris, to black men. I will never forgive him for that. He'll never get my damn vote. Not on this side of life, he won't.
Where the nation is looking at it, and you have pundits on both sides of the aisle looking sad and despondent. In Van Jones' case for CNN, he looked like he was about to cry. Other pundits were saying, where are the family members? How could you put your dad out there like that? How could you?
I have myself experienced many women, whether they came in as a couple or they came by themselves, they very abruptly discontinued their therapy. And I started to reflect and really think, what was going on here? And I noticed that after I had to confront them about something, I had to.
And guys, I have seen this in therapy as well. When you look at most therapists now, it's some tend to more or less postulate a more liberal worldview. And you see it happening over and over and over and over and over again, which is problematic, guys, to say the least. And when you do confront them about their pathologies, they do deny it or they won't make the proper adjustments to change it, which in essence is highly problematic, to say the least.
Bring to their attention something they were doing that wasn't contributing to the health of the relationship.
We are in the middle of a crisis. Black men are in crisis. And anybody who denies that black men are in crisis is ignoring the data, the science.
And see, once again, guys, this is overgeneralization. When April Mason, this woman, whatever her name is, I can't think of her name. Rebecca Lynn Pope did whatever she decided to do. She took her own sample size from Atlanta, Georgia, and she overgeneralized it to black men, but it's not backed in fair and just research. No different than what eugenics said years ago, said in the past.
The research, the statistics.
Well, a grand jury in Mississippi today declined to indict the white woman whose accusations set off the lynching of Emmett Till nearly 70 years.
Shout out to Top Gun. He said, somebody got a nerve coming to a black male space spreading false narratives about black men. The world is bigger than the reservation. Shout out to Top Gun. As Top Gun, guys, is the #1 sponsor of this stream. Top Gun is the #1 sponsor of this stream, guys. Don't let Top Gun be the only one that donate. Shout out to Top Gun, as he is the only one sponsor of this stream. But guys, that's the problem that I have with some, not all, some white conservatives. They lack awareness, and you can't come into a, I don't mind white people or whoever coming in having a conversation. I don't care about that. But, I'm going to go into a white group and say, a platform that's ran by mostly white men, that all white men are pedophiles, or that would be irresponsible. All white men are whatever. I'm not going to say that because, even if that was true, it's reckless to come into a space. I'm going to go on the reservation and say all Indians are alcoholics. That's stupid, but I don't mind Robert coming in and having a conversation. I don't mind him having a conversation. I respect different opinions, but you got to be honest and open and fair about your pronouncements.
Years ago, Carolyn Bryant Dunham, now 88, initially claimed that Till made unwanted advances towards her at her family's grocery store. It led to the brutal torture and lynching of the 14-year-old. The prosecutor said the grand jury found insufficient evidence to charge Dunham.
Be the same ones who calling me nigga. After that, wanna say I'm his brother. Yeah, she lie on them brothers. Yeah, she lie on them brothers. Yeah, she lie on them brothers. Yeah, she lie on them brothers.
It's opportunism. And no.
And so, guys, these are the agents that have caused destruction, sadly, here in America. These are the agents that have caused destruction, sadly, in America. Liberal policies, substantiated by feminism, policies substantiated by liberal whites, policies where sadly some of our black women join in alignment with white liberal women, and then clarion calls like myself and the late great Kevin Samuels and many other black men and other men that came before him that tried to stem the tide to bring a community back together. But Kevin Samuels was a distraction. And like I said, guys, I got my theories on what happened to Kevin. I stand on that, and I'll just leave that alone. Kevin became a necessary distraction to the global elites, and they had to perhaps remove Kevin out of the way, in my opinion.
Can't just ignore it. This really is a public health crisis because they don't just talk amongst themselves. I can take it, okay? I chose this job.
And God, this is the presumption that that the manosphere, whatever you want to call it, manosphere, white manosphere, black manosphere, the white manosphere and black manosphere are different, but we have similar issues. And we're similar, but we have different issues. And that's why men's spaces were created. But listen, I'm an adjacent to the manosphere. I'm my own man. I don't go by any code of conduct. I respect different talking points and worldviews, but I'm my own man first. I don't tap dance and, do what other men tell me what to do. I'm a man. I wish somebody damn would tell me what to do as a man. We can have a difference of opinion, and I can respect your position, but I don't tap dance and say, well, you got to, no, I don't do that goofy-ish, because that's not me. I'm not going to do that because I'm a self-made man. I can respect a position, but I don't tap dance for nobody. That ain't me. I can respect another man's position, but going somewhere with that nonsense, you think I'm gonna, do what you say. I don't do that goofy-ish.
So I can deal with silly lies about my sex life. I can deal with lies about who I'm dating. I can deal with lies about the events that I throw. But we see other women get stalked, harassed, degraded.
And guys, once again, black men or men in general didn't create the manosphere. Liberal policies like Kamala Harris created the manosphere. Joe Biden created the manosphere. Liberal women like this woman created the manosphere. And many others that align themselves with white liberals created the manosphere. Because black men never created policies en masse. And neither would I say white men created policies, but the white men that played a role in creating policies to destroy black families and black men in general, but now it's turning to white men, were white men. The oligarchs in power were not black men, they were white men. So they created policies that eventually hurt them as white men. Black men never created any policies. So how can black men be oppressing anything when we never had power, when we were fighting for power alongside with black women? It's disingenuous and it's highly ignorant. Shout out to my man Barry Hampton for that $5 super sticker, brother. Thank you, sir.
Girls get killed? That's an emergency.
Effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black...
And the reason why so many black men align themselves with Donald Trump. See, what y'all don't understand with politics is that the Democratic Party tends to draw the LGBTQIA plus community. But are all Democrats radical liberals? No. White conservatives, and especially many times the extreme nationalist groups, tend to align with Trump. But does that necessarily mean that Trump endorses those worldviews? No. It's just part of politics. Certain politics, whether they agree 100% with Trump, will align themselves with that. But it doesn't mean that Trump is that way per se. But Trump is a masculine dude. That's why I respect Trump. He's masculine, and he say what he means. He means what he says. Is Trump a little off at times? Yes. Is he reckless with his mouth? Yes. But at least you know he's honest. Now, there's some that say he's a liar and all that. Well, all politicians lie. They're all corrupt. You ain't gonna get a perfect politician. But his policies, in my opinion, are better for traditional black men and traditional men in general, white or black.
Population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't recognize. We can't forget that.
Right. Look at this old Disney jackass. Can you imagine, guys, the same proliferation of hate and denigration of black men, calling black men super predators? But Scarecrow Joe is acting like he don't know what's going on. But he did call black men super predators. He called many black men super predators. It basically saying an animal or an ape. You can equivocate it to that, a wild animal. But when you think about a race of people that have been historically predators, and one black man, that's for damn sure, it was white men like him that were predators. Black men historically have not been predators to anybody. Neither have Native Americans been predators in general. Black people from the African diaspora and Native Americans in general are peaceful people. But due to ethnic conflicts between Africans and Indians, they aligned themselves with slave traders due to tribal conflict, but it had nothing to do with race. But they will say, well, your own people sold you into slavery. That's a lie, because black people at the time when they were in Africa, they didn't align themselves with color. It had nothing to do with color. It was about tribal conflict, no different than white Indians, no different than Indians that help other Indians get caught during the cavalry. There were Indians that aligned themselves with white men to kill and destroy other Indians. No different than black people, black tribes align themselves with white men to capture other African tribes. But some reason when black people say it, they say, you know, some white conservatives use that damn convenient excuse, your own people sold you into slavery, and that's BS, because there were millions of tribes in Africa. There were millions of thousands of tribes and different languages in Africa. So you can go to Nigeria and have a bunch of diversity, even in a country as big as Nigeria. But they have different tribes and different languages. So when you say you sold your own people, that's a myth. If we're going to talk about that, then we need to talk about the American Revolution, where white soldiers fought against the British throne to destroy them. White soldiers fought against European soldiers fall against the crown of England. But do we say whites, patriots, fall against their own people? They don't say that nonsense because it don't make any sense. But they'll say that to justify slavery and justify not giving reparations.
Super predators was his name, and he called it to them, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform,
And of course, this old Molly Mouth jackass can't say nothing, Joe Biden. Of course he can't say anything. Cotton Mouth Joe. Of course he can't say anything because he knows he's a racist. He's a bona fide racist.
For the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But when you see these millions of people pouring into our country and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet, it's a disaster.
And I agree with Trump 100%. We could talk about, I'm going to do some research on Project 25. But once again, which one is more insidious? Allowing a bunch of illegals to come to this country, undocumented immigrants that are taking the jobs of black people and taking the jobs of white people, taking the jobs of Americans in general. You know, because when white America get the cold, black America get the flu. So they're all equally reprehensible in my opinion. Or they're both equally reprehensible, in my opinion.
On the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic. The people who were texting with me were very concerned about President Biden seeming extremely feeble, seeming extremely weak. And, you know, I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. President Biden had one job tonight, and it was one primary job. And yes, it was to litigate Donald Trump's, you know, criminality. And
so once again, guys, are they trying to use Biden as being incompetent to put Kamala Harris in office? That's what many believe. And I can see it. But if she get into office, you think you've seen anything yet? If she become president, you ain't seen nothing yet. If she becomes president, we might have a civil war. Because I'm definitely not a fan of this goofy woman. I'm nowhere near a fan of Kamala Harris by a long shot. I don't trust ultra liberal people, or more or less use the struggles of people of African descent to push their own nefarious agendas. I got a problem with that. And if you're a traditional black man, you should as well.
all of those things, but he had to settle his own party. He needed to settle Democrats. Democrats, you know, they always talk about Democrats are bedwetters and Democrats are always panicking. Yes, Democrats are always panicking. They're always scared, right? They're always thinking they're going to lose. Like Democrats are very pessimistic. This is just neurotic. Who they are. They're neurotic. But Joe Biden's job was to reassure them tonight. His job was to calm his party, to make them feel that, yes, I can do this. I have 4 more years in me. I have the ability and the stamina and the strength to do 4 more years. He did not do that.
Shout out Top Gun. Top Gun says, salute to the soldiers that stood tonight. Let no man destroy what we created, even a half. Shout out to Top Gun. He is the #1 sponsor of this stream. Shout out to Top Gun for his $20 combined super chats. I appreciate the brother always showing love, man. I appreciate Top Gun showing us love, brother Top Gun. Always showing love. Shout out to Top Gun for showing love. He's the #1 sponsor of this stream, and this is a good one, guys. So hold tight. We're gonna keep chopping up in a minute. Hold tight.
That he did the opposite of that. He made them more panicked. The people who were texting me were even more panicked. They actually expected it to be better than it was. And now they're in I won't say a full-fledged panic, but it's getting there.
And even folks like this.
I just want to speak from my heart.
One thing I've been noticing, right? Whenever you call out black women on certain toxic...
And guys, the third thing that destroyed the black community was radical feminism. That's the third thing that destroyed the black community. To the point, good sisters like Chantel, Crimson Cure, sisters like Bashur that spoke against modernism, they become or were attacked to the point that Chantel, she took a respite away from YouTube. But these are the people that destroyed or more or less created the Manosphere. The Manosphere didn't happen in a silo, and the Manosphere didn't happen by happenstance. It happened based on needs driving behaviors.
Traits and negative behavior, a bunch of them will run to the comment section talking about not all black women are like that. But if you're praising black women, calling them queens and goddesses, they're silent. You don't hear them say not all.
Yeah, shout out to the International Quiet Storm. Yeah, man, I've been working hard, brother. I've been working behind the scene, trying to run my practice behind the scene, and doing YouTube is hard. But, man, I really appreciate everything you do and Top Gun. The good brothers have been riding with me for a while. I greatly appreciate that. You guys definitely hold me down. And I'm glad you're getting the notifications, man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir, for your kindness, you and Top Gun. But sure, and everybody else to always show love. Gregory Scotland, Barry Hamilton, Byro Hammer, all the good brothers. Got nothing but love for you guys.
Black women are queens and goddesses. On the flip side of that, however, if you were to call out black men on their negative traits, a bunch of them co-signing, yes, black men are dusties, black men do this wrong. However, let you be praising black men and see how they run over here talking about not all black men are great provider, protectors, and leaders. Not all black men, because then they start inserting about their dusty baby daddies. Y'all notice that pattern and see the hypocrisy in that, or is it just me?
They did not tell us that all of that, being my own person and I'm independent, would lead to separation, loneliness, celibacy, and lesbianism. They didn't tell us that if you give up the man, you're going to take one of these things. And
this woman was attacked viciously. She was attacked viciously, guys. Sherazal Ali, she was attacked because she was trying to more or less influence traditionalism, sadly. But she was attacked, and she was... they tried to destroy her as well. Black women aligned themselves, many, not all, but a large portion of our women aligned themselves with liberal policies that did not benefit black families and black tradition. They aligned themselves with policies that did not benefit black families and black tradition, God, to say the least. Oh, wow. Are you serious, P. Diddy? Brace yourself, good sir. It's being reported right now that Joe Biden is having a medical emergency on Air Force One. Cam is close to being president. Man, wow, man. Oh, my goodness, man. I got to look this up, brother. Hold tight. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, they're doing it by design, guys. They're trying to collapse this country by design. They're trying to bring order out of chaos. They know what they're doing. And I won't be surprised if they got rid of him and got him out of the way. They're wicked people in control, guys. And if this damn woman become president, it's over, guys. It's already over right now. But if she become president, they're going to further throw this damn country under the water.
It's worse, and it will destroy your nation. They made us think that it was some kind of glorified position to brag about the fact that I got my own job, my own credit card, my own car, so I don't need no man. I don't even know how we got that mixed up. Ain't none of that got nothing to do with being with no man. We have some serious relationship problems that nobody has been able to address us on because everybody wants to pretend that this is not going on. Over 60% of our women are single, widowed, separated, or divorced. They don't have a man.
If you consider yourself to be a black feminist, you need to know a little more about this woman over here on the left, Miss Gloria.
So Gloria Steinem was, methodically, her and Margaret Sanger, all liberal white women, and they infiltrated the black families and black communities, and they systematically destroyed all progress that black families and black communities were making. I got a good show, guys, coming up real soon. I got a great show coming up. I think I'm going to do it Sunday. It's called Catherine, Keisha, and the Coming Apocalypse. I've been waiting to do this show for a while. I got an even more powerful show coming up on the back end, but I'm going to take my time to make sure I do it right. But what you see now was not responsive or respective of traditionalism and the black family in the past. Our ancestors weren't like that. We had more Catherines than Keishas, but now we got more Keishas than Catherines, and it's a problem.
Steinem. I did do a video on Miss Gloria a few years ago, but I think I'm going to reiterate it again today, seeing as the number of black feminists possibly doubled or even tripled, and repetition deepens the impression. The title of this article did get cut off on the screen, but it is called Black Feminism, the CIA, and Gloria Steinem. What follows?
And you're right, but sure, it did go on deaf ears. And it is a CIA operative. They see, when white conservatives talk about black issues, they don't understand this like they're being systematically destroyed. Their nationalism is being destroyed, or American nationalism is being destroyed. They systematically put crack and different things in the black community to destroy it. But they don't understand there are oligarchs that are over those people like the CIA, and they're systematically trying to destroy this country from within.
Is a fact sheet about Gloria Steinem's operations against the various social and political movements in America, particularly her role in creating a hateful and virulent strain of black feminism that attacks black men while partnering with the white establishment. Let's read a little more. Gloria first came across the radar of black men in 1978 when Steinem put a book called Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman on the cover of Miss Magazine, the magazine which she controlled. The book was written by black feminist and activist Michelle Wallace, who literally came out of nowhere. In the book, Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid for supporting black men.
Look at that, guys. Ugly and stupid for supporting black men. Guys, this is part of the occult. And many times these groups are tied into Luciferianism. They are tied into Luciferianism.
She called black revolutionaries chauvinist macho pigs and advised black women to go it alone. But pay attention to this part. Gloria Steinem said that Wallace's book would define the future of black relationships, and she pushed hard to make sure that the book received massive publicity. And don't we see this happening today? You might not be calling Sojourner Truth or Harriet Tubman ugly and stupid, but you sure are calling your fellow black sister a pick-me or desperate or thirsty when she stands up for black men.
Right. They call sisters like, for sure, mammies and pick-me's. That's why I said some of these black women were compromised. They call Crimson mammies and pick-me's. They call women like Chantel mammies and pick-me's. And every woman should want to be picked. It was women like Sojourner Truth, and there were women like these women that were the personification of black women of the past. And I got a good show coming up, guys. I think I'm going to do it Sunday. Very good show. But in the past, guys, this is what our women look like. And this is what our women personified compared to the mess that we see now.
Girl, yes. Okay now, baby. Okay? Girl, yes. Okay now, baby.
Fall comes to us in its own time. Fighters, keepers, losers, we.
Y'all deflect, y'all project guilt on those who want to stand up for our men. You're literally doing what she intended from the beginning. Let a woman today stand up for black men and all of a sudden she's a misogynist and she hates women. I digress. What's the bottom line?
Or they'll call her male identified. Women like Bashur that supports tradition and family, and men, male identified, mammies, all that foolish stuff. And they do it, guys, because they're rebels. They don't want to change, and they're not going to change. But they want to change you. They want to take you, and they want you to submit to them instead of them submitting to you and your leadership as a man.
Bottom line is the so-called black feminist movement was created and manipulated by the CIA from the very beginning. The only difference between black revolutionaries and black feminists on this issue is that the black revolutionaries know they were infiltrated and manipulated, but black feminists are still unwilling to admit that they were infiltrated and manipulated, largely because they are highly invested in the hateful brand of black feminism. As a result, the Hate Black Men movement has become more than just a political point of view. It is now a central part of the culture of black women, and this fact has led to the destruction of the black revolution and the complete distortion of black relationships. And the CIA...
Yes, it was by design to destroy what black men and black women had. Our women were compromised. They were compromised. And Lyndon B. Johnson saw the progress that we were making, and he did everything in his power to destroy. I got a good show coming up Sunday once again. I got another good show that I'm going to put on the back burner for next Sunday.
Had a direct hand in creating this situation. Gloria Steinem knew what she was doing when she put that book on the cover of Miss Magazine. Remember what she said earlier? She said that that book would define the future of Black relationships. She pushed hard to make sure that book received massive publicity, and she used someone who looks just like you to push that narrative.
Right.
This doesn't change your mind.
Right. She used somebody that looked just like us. See, a snake. Gloria Steinem was a snake whisperer. And basically what she did, because ever since the fall of man, a woman always wanted power. Since the fall of man, woman has always wanted to be in power or competition with man. And because some Black women saw themselves as inferior to white women, they aligned themselves with these false narratives that Black men oppressed them. But Black men never had power at the governmental level to oppress anyone. Black men and Black women will work together as mules of burden to bring forth change in America, and we were doing a great job. And I'm going to talk about it very soon.
Follow me, baby. The elders are old and out of touch. I have the power to help you become the better version of yourself. Listen to me. I know what's best for you. I am the Snake Whisperer.
About feminism, honestly, I don't know what will.
I'm sitting here with just this horrible realization. I have spent most of my days figuring out how I can become physically, mentally, financially, spiritually healthy enough to be able to afford and take care of a child. And
that's what feminism told them, guys. They had it made when their husbands were out here working and grinding hard for their families. But they became compromised. There are a lot of women that are depressed. There are a lot of women that are overweight. There are a lot of women that are stressed out because they're trying to carry the onerous burden of taking care of a family by themselves. It's a hard job. Trying to carry the burden and to carry the load of taking care of a family by yourself, because women were never designed to do that. Men and women are equal as human beings, but we are not equal in role and design. And that's why so much consternation and issues when it comes down to the conversations. Right, and she deserved to be single.
Not only have I taken that time, but I've done the math, and it does not work out. I am not young enough, or fertile enough, or financially stable enough to even do another round of IVF. And at 36, like, I'm sorry, like, you're gonna say, like, you have time, like, I don't.
Look at what happened to this woman, guys. Look at what happened to this woman. She believed the lie of shout out to the good liberalism. And they put their careers before what they were made for, which is to bear the image of a man, which is the seed of a man, and they have a happy family together. But, you know, they waited too long. Many have given their bodies to multiple men. They're depressed. They're on antidepressants. But you can't tell them nothing, guys.
Because I can't spend another minute of my life trying to make something work when I'm just fighting upstream. I don't have a support system. I don't have the money. I don't have the resources or the community, and it just kills me. It kills me that I had embryos with my ex-husband that were viable, and they're just gone now. And my future...
Look at what she said. She had embryos, guys, with her ex-husband. Look at how many women throw their marriages away over silly stuff. I'm not happy. Or I'm trying to focus on my career. Look at how many threw away their marriages over silly stuff, guys. They could have been in happy, viable relationships, but they threw it away over this foolishness. And now they're suffering the recompense of not only their ignorance, but they're suffering the recompense of their error, sadly.
My future with those children and my life as a mother is just... it's gone. And it's not just that it's gone, it's the fact that it was decided for me by so many other people and factors. And that's what kills me, because it was not my choice. And I'm angry. And I'm heartbroken.
Available because she and they were lied to. Our women were lied to. I'm going to show you the progression of good black women to what they've become now. They went from one thing to something else. I'm going to show you the progression at some point soon. She never had her father. And could she be acting out because her father was never around? And then you're going to put that baby, and you're talking about Ebony K. Williams, guys, that had her child do IVF. She didn't bring her child in the loving care of a father that could guide her and love her. But once again, guys, they don't want to talk about that. In that same predicament, the only difference is you got money to take care of that baby, but that baby's still not getting the proper tutoring that it needs to move forward. Now watch this. Ebony K. Williams say this little girl never knew who her father was. Is it the father's fault, or was it the mother's fault? I'm gonna say it again. Was it the father's fault, or was it the mother's fault? And God, this is the cycle of trauma that so many kids go through. She said this little girl never knew who her father was. Not a name, picture, no father to say he was proud of her at her college graduation. No father.
Kevin Samuels destroys modern woman with this.
And see, Kevin Samuels, guys, was the last, or one of the last clarion callers. There have been many clarion callers, but he got more visibility than most. And guess what they did to him? They destroyed him as well, because they didn't like to hear the truth.
Man, are you dealing with issues like this?
Almost 50.
Almost 50 years old.
I am.
All right. Are you married?
Yes.
So where's your husband?
He's out.
I don't believe you.
You don't think so?
No.
This woman been married 3 times, guys, because they don't value marriage or relationships. Yeah, you're right, Bear. She might raise it as a robot, but no emotional intelligence, sadly.
No. When did you get married?
He said what?
When? When did you get married?
2017. I've been married 3 times.
So why are you here then if you're married 3 times?
To be honest, I'm just here because a lot of females that I do speak with, they're like totally against the fact that you say that they can't get a man of money. It's not too many straight men with money anymore anyway. So they're not even looking for one.
And that's a false narrative that they're not straight men, but yet many of these women are beaver bumpers. Many modern women, I just saw one yesterday, guys, play on both teams. They deal with men and women. So that's a false narrative. They deal with men and women. And once again, guys, if you don't believe me, whether Aaron the plumber is a scammer or not is subjective. I don't know. As I said earlier, I keep my comments to myself. But they created Aaron the plumber. Just like modern women created the manosphere. They created it. There was no manosphere 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. Men have always congregated together to talk about men issues, but not like it is now. They created it because of their bad behavior and their Keisha-ism.
No better if we just let it be.
Give the people what they want.
A lot of them are not.
They're not looking for hoes.
I consider myself to be a boss chick. I'm 26.
Okay.
Currently single. So, I mean, you were explaining to women that they are wasting their years being a boss chick. Why can't I build my life the way I want it without?
And God, that's another thing that's destroying a lot of women. Yeah, right. They do change their spouses like underwear. That's another issue. This boss chick nonsense. This we are partners nonsense. That's why I said, guys, I would never, and I mean never, if I was a single man, deal with women in the West. I would never take them serious for being wives. I would never do it. I would never take them serious, guys, for being a wife. I would never take them serious, guys, for being a wife if I was a single man, because you're not getting anything of quality. You're not getting anything of quality, sadly.
Potentially just being a side chick.
What do you want?
A husband eventually.
Eventually when?
Definitely before I hit 30.
So in 3 years, 8 months or so, you want to have a husband.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How many children do you want to have?
I want 2 children.
Right. And after you're pregnant and married with your first child, do you want to have to work to pay significant bills?
I do not. I would prefer to be
cool.
taking care of my kids.
Okay, so by your calculations, what the fuck do you need to be a boss for if you're going to be a stay-at-home wife? After marriage, you don't want...
He was correct. But it's about power. All this stuff goes back to theology, guys. She will have a desire for her husband, but he will rule over her. It basically means that after the fall, the woman wanted power over the man. And they will fight for war, or they will fight in relationships back and forth. But she will have a desire for her husband, but he will rule over her. Shout out to my man, Gregory, man. I'm glad to see you, Gregory. Greg, I got a show coming up for you, man. Return of the Prize Catcher. Be on the lookout for this one. This is going to be a powerful one. But it's going to take me some time to put this one together. I got another good one coming up Sunday. I was going to do it tomorrow, but I think I'm going to spend some time with my wife and my daughters on tomorrow. We can go have some fun. But the Return of the Prize Catcher Part 3 or 4, this next one is going to be powerful. Y'all going to love this new Return of the Prize Catcher. I promise you. Y'all gonna love this new Return of the Prize Catcher. Gonna be powerful. And it's gonna be extremely comprehensive. It's gonna be very, I might even make this one members only, guys. So y'all about to enjoy it, because this new Prize Catcher show gonna be on point. I know you've been asking for it, Gregory, for a while, man. And I got you, but I got an equally good show coming up this Saturday, this Sunday, I believe. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Hear the lick. You want to stay at home and raise your kids. That means he has to pay the bills. Then what are you the boss for? What is it doing for the bottom line for the family?
And Kevin was right. And once again, guys, the conversation that we've tried to have many times in the past has gone on deaf ears. And as I said before earlier, guys, America is in trouble. America's in serious trouble. This proliferation and destruction has been going on for years, but one could argue that America is on its last leg. If things don't radically change and change soon, which I don't think it's going to happen, you might see the very last of America, guys. A country that was built off our ancestors, a country that was built by free slave labor, a country where black men and black women were in unison together. Was it perfect? No, it was never perfect. It was never perfect, but like Fannie Lou Hamer said, we were better back then than we are now. I've always said, in my opinion, because of the struggles of black women in America, the black woman in America at one point was the greatest woman ever, because no other woman's circumstance was symmetrical to the black woman. But I would say even greater, no other man was greater than the American black man. One that came from Jim Crow racism, that was seen as 3/4 human, that was a victim of chattel slavery and still overcame in spite of. That's powerful, guys. And that's a testament to the power of God, resilience in our ancestors. So, like I said, Gregor, I got a special one coming out just for you, brother. You've been talking about it for a while, and I've been working on it, you know, in my busy schedule, trying to build my brand. Return of the Prize Catcher. Why men shouldn't bow to angels or women, and why angels lost their place. That's gonna be dope. Why men should never bow to angels or women, and why angels lost their place. Return of the Prize Catcher. It's going to be nasty, guys. Y'all going to love this show. It's going to be very comprehensive. So y'all get ready for this one. We're going to kill it. Gregory says, very sad, Kosher. You have some weak black male content creators that are attacking men who said some supported things about the plumber. Yeah, Gregory. Yeah, man. I could tell you some things on the back end, but I keep that to myself. We'll talk on the back end at some point. Gregory, we get the time. It'll make sense, but it don't make a lot of sense right now. But I'm gonna leave that alone because once again, modern black women created the plumber. They created the plumber, just like modern black women created the Manosphere. They created the Manosphere. The Manosphere didn't happen in happenstance. They created it. So anyway, guys, we're gonna end this one. Gregory, you missed a good one, man. Go back and look at the replay. You're gonna enjoy it. But I'm about to go get my walk on. And guys, we got a good show coming up this week. So make sure y'all tune in, hopefully tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but Sunday. What happened to Catherine Keisha in the coming apocalypse? That's going to be a great show. And so, guys, once again, we're going to end this stream. Thank you to all that tuned in. Before we end this stream, I want to send a special shout out to Top Gun, as Top Gun, guys, was the #1 sponsor of this stream on tonight. Top Gun was my #1 sponsor, always showing love. Top Gun always give me enough money so I can put gas in my Tahoe, man. So, so shout out to Top Gun. Shout out to the homie. A special shout out to my dear friend Bashur for her $10 super chat. Shout out to Sister Bashur. Shout out to the International Quiet Storm for the 10. Shout out to Barry Hamilton for that for the 5. And once again, shout out to Top Gun for being the #1 sponsor of this stream. All right, guys, we're going to end this stream. We know that model women created the Manosphere, and only thing I can say is God help us as we continue to move forward, guys, in these modern times. So, guys, we're going to sign off here, and I'll see you guys hopefully again on Sunday. Be well.
Pain. I've been there, locked up inside my head, broken from fear, illusions, disappointment, and hopelessness. Who heard me in my silence, where being the man means nothing? Despair. I've been there too, desperately seeking answers for the questions associated with manhood, hills and valleys, too bleak to compare. Stress, suffering in a utility silo, no comfort, no security, no freedom, no justice, just do it for others. Challenges, who will help me break the challenges lost in the vortex of darkness, hopelessness, fear, and abandonment. I've been there too. I've been there too. Take the next step to your destiny. Join me in this fight. Walk forward. Deep breaths. Head held high, men. Come join me, men, in the winds of time. Stories, hopes, visions, purified in the fire. I'm not a superhero. And I'm not the Reverend Knight. I'm here to help you. Join me, men, in this fight. Break the chains of your mind. Let's do it now. For now is all we have. Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
When my friends go, it was simple. When the ends low, switch the tempo. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, then I strike. I go hard day and night, yeah. I go hard day and night. 1 to 1, no surprise. See the hate in their eyes. My brother's blood money bleed. I got the game in the squeeze. What would you do for some green? What would you do for some blues? Go pick and choose the fam of the cheese. Some people not built like that. Some people get killed like that. Pressure like water, lights, mortgage, I'm paying that bills like that. Now I got kids like that. No wonder why I feel like that. Some people go to war for nothing. Me, I go to war for something.
Before there was the Manosphere, I was. Before there was the internet, I was.
When the end's low, switch the tempo. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, bet I strike. I go hard day and night. Money on the line, keep calling. Money on the books, need all that. My kids, they'll be ballin'. Got a real bankroll, not for Instagram. My mama on the line, keep calling. Praying for me, know I need all that. Told me it's not about ballin'. Real blessed, but I'm still sinning, man. What would you do for a win? What would you do for your friends? What if this life is a foe? What if it all was pretend? What if you wrote to the end? What if you started again?
Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.